Assalamu alaikum everyone, and welcome back to the ever popular Speaker's Corner. The Al-Emaan Centre series of Ramadan live talks. We pray that your fasting is going well and that you're keeping healthy and staying safe in this lockdown period, inshallah. We have been graced with some truly outstanding scholars here on Speaker's Corner, and tonight we have a very familiar guest who is close to our heart. Before we introduce our guest, I'd like to encourage you all to post any questions on the Q&A or chat functions, which are located on the lower centre of your screen. These will be answered after the talk, and if time permits, we may take one or two live questions as well. We will also be streaming live on YouTube, where a recording will be available in due course. Tonight, our special guest is the respected Shaykh Abdullah Hasan, who will be discussing Zakat. Shaykh Abdullah Hasan is an experienced qualified Imam. He has studied chaplaincy at the Markfield Institute and is a licensed Islamic counsellor, specialising in youth and marriage therapy. In addition, he is a specialist in Zakat and Islamic philanthropic studies. Shaykh Abdullah has an enormous interest and passion in the field of community and people development. So with that humble introduction, it's an absolute pleasure to introduce our own Shaykh Abdullah Hasan. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah khair, Brother Amir, and everyone at Emaan Center. I pray that everyone is doing well, inshallah, and Ramadan is going well. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Kareem wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma la sahla illa ma ja'altahu sahla wa anta taj'alul hazna idha shi'ta sahla. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid wa ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my dear respected brothers and sisters listening online. Inshallah, in the next 20 minutes, 25 minutes, I'm going to summarize very, very briefly the ahkam or the rulings pertaining to zakah, how to calculate your zakah. Most people, it is in the month of Ramadan, they begin to think about calculating and paying the zakah. And inshallah, we'll go through the zakah. The topic is huge. It'll take a long time to really cover everything, but I'm going to, inshallah, make calculating zakah very, very simple, inshallah. It can be complicated, but I'll try my best to calculate, or help you to calculate, understand how to calculate your zakah in a very three simple, easy steps within Allah Ta'ala. Number one, we know there are many verses in the Quran, many hadith of the Prophet Muhammad regarding zakah. Wa aqimus salah wa atuz zakah, and establish the prayer and pay the zakah. الَّذِينَ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ, those who establish the prayer, pray 5 times a day, and they pay the zakah. So zakah is one of the foundations of Islam, one of the pillars of Islam. Without zakah, Islam cannot be established among the 5 pillars of Islam. And zakah is an annual tax that every Muslim, not the normal tax that we pay from our salaries, the government takes, but this is a zakah, a tax that we pay that is obligatory upon us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. There are many benefits of zakah. I don't really have time to go into. I want to go straight into the calculation bit. And there are also a hadith that warns us of not paying zakah, right? Unfortunately, one of the most neglected pillars of Islam is az-zakah, because it comes once a year. We only think about zakah in Ramadan. We only think about zakah in few days, and rest of the year we forget about zakah. As all of the pillars of Islam, although we may be doing it, performing it for 1 week, for example, for Hajj, or 1 month in the month of Ramadan, or zakah for 1 or 2 days, but we have to think about all of the pillars continuously, because this is our identity. The identity of the believer is the 5 pillars of Islam. How well the believer performs and executes the 5 pillars of Islam. So I want to go straight into it, inshallah. Who has to pay zakah? Very, very quickly. All adults, Muslim, they have to be Muslims. They have to be of sound mind, and they have to have nisab, or owner of nisab, the minimum threshold. Those are the people have to pay zakah every year. Who can zakah be distributed to? Allah mentions 8 categories in the Quran: the poor, the needy, the zakah administrators in a Muslim country, those whose hearts are to be reconciled, those who are in bondage, those who are in debt, in the way of God, cause of God, and the wayfarer, those who are stranded, traveling without resources. And there are a lot of discussions among the scholars regarding these different categories. Essentially, God did not leave it up to ourselves, up to our own understanding, ijtihad, to determine who we should give our zakat to, right? It's clearly delineated, it's clearly mentioned in the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. The zakat that we collect has to be given to those people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, and primarily the poor and the poor and the needy. Where should zakat be distributed to? Wherever there is a need. The discussion among the scholars about, do we give it to locally, collect locally and give it to locally, or nationally or internationally? The main point is you pay zakah, you distribute zakah where there, wherever there is a need, you distribute zakah in that area, whether it's local or national or abroad. So now I want to go through 3 easy steps to calculating your zakah. There are certain wealth that we have. There are certain wealth, because a lot of people, they assume that zakah is only paid on the savings. No, zakah is paid on the savings and other forms of wealth that we may own, right? So there are certain things, or there are certain wealth that we own that are zakatable, meaning that we have to pay zakah on. And there are certain wealth that we own that we don't have to pay zakah on. I'll come to it, inshallah. So the first step among the 3 steps is that we have to identify those zakatable assets that we own that we have to calculate and pay a zakah on, right? So what are those things? What are those things? Yeah. Firstly, any cash that we have, whether it's in our savings account, whether it's in our current account, whether it's in our pockets, whether we lend to others that we know we will receive it back under a mattress, wherever it is, right? Any allowances that we may receive, any gift money that we may receive and accumulated in our possession, we have to consider, we have to add that in our zakah basket, right? Imagine 3 columns. In column A, you have to add all of the cash. That's number 1. Number 2, any gold and silver that you have, in whatever form, in particular jewelry form, you have to add in your zakatable asset basket. Yeah, there are some differences among the scholars, but the most authentic view and the safest view is that you add gold and silver jewelry or any form in your zakah calculation. The next thing that you add any business investments that you have, right? Any business investments. So you invested in for example, you have your own business, you have your shop, you have a tailoring shop, or you have a shop that sells books or shoes, whatever. You have to calculate in your zakah calculation all the stock, right? When it comes to zakah due date, all the stock at retail price, right? All the stock at retail, not the wholesale price, but the retail, the price that you will sell it for. You added also any stocks and shares that you may have invested in, right? You have to add in. Now, if you bought the shares with the intention to, it's all about the intention, right? Intention. All about the intention. If you bought the shares, invested in some shares with the intention to buy and sell, right? You have to pay zakah on the entire value of the shares at market rate at your zakah due date, right? If the intention was for long-term investment, right, then you obviously pay zakah on the dividend you receive, and you pay zakah on the underlying assets of the investment that you, the zakatable assets of the investment that you made. As I said, any money that you have given to others, you have to include that. Pensions, right? You include defined contribution schemes. national insurance contribution and other, those are not zakatable. The defined contribution schemes are zakatable. You have to identify your pension pot, how much it's worth, look at where they have invested and try and work out how much your shares are worth. If, for example, if you purchased a flat, real estate, you purchase a flat or real estate where you bought, again, it goes back to intention. If I bought a flat with the intention to resell, make a profit, right? I have to pay zakat on the entire value of the property or house at market rate at my zakat date. So if I bought a flat, 6 months ago, that costed £100,000. Today at my zakat due date, that is worth at market rate. If you go to Zoopla and other places or contact a real estate agent, they're saying the market, I can sell it for £150,000. I have to pay zakat on the £150,000. Calculate zakat on the £150,000. Right? If the intention was to resell. If the intention was not to resell, but it's a long-term investment, and I receive rental income from it, then I calculate my zakat on the rental income I have accumulated at my zakat due date. Not the stuff I already spent, not the money that I already spent, but any rental income I have accumulated at my zakat due date. I have to add it in the first column, the first zakat asset basket. My own property, the house that I live in, the car that I drive, the clothes that I wear, or anything I use for personal use, except for cash and gold and silver, then there is no zakat on it. Even if I have 2 houses, right, but I don't, I use it for my own pleasure, if you like, my own personal use, then there's no zakat on it. The cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, other, you have to pay zakat on it, right? And you calculate how much is that in pounds, and you add it in your zakat zakat basket. So those are the things that are called zakatable assets that I have to pay zakat on. Inshallah, in the Q&A, we'll get into it a bit more. So, for example, say I've done that, and my zakatable assets come to £10,000. So remember that total, £10,000. That's the first step. The second step, what do I do in the second step? And I have create another column, another basket. And in that basket, I calculate and I value add all of the liabilities that I may have at my zakat due date. Yeah, all of the liabilities. So for example, at my zakat due date, I am able to deduct any outstanding bills that I have to pay. My utility bills, my phone bills, credit card bills, any overdraft bills, right? All of these I can deduct. Not future bills, but any bills that are outstanding. Yeah, that's number one. I can deduct that. Number two, long-term debts like a mortgage, for example. I don't want to go into about whether it's halal or haram, but long-term debts like a mortgage, then my advice is that you deduct only the 1 month payment. You deduct the 1 month payment. Some people say 12 months, but I advise it's better to deduct the 1 month payment. If you have a shop, if you have a business and you have staff and other goings, then you can deduct the staff salary for that month, and obviously the bills, any outstanding bills for that month. Any cash that you, as I mentioned, that you will receive, you have to, right? Including that. But those are the things that you can deduct. Those are the things that you can deduct. Now, say for example, I've done that, it comes to £5,000, right? So my zakatable assets is worth, the value of it, the first basket is worth £10,000. The second basket, the liabilities that I can deduct, is worth £5,000. So the third step is I have to find out what my zakatable amount is. So I had £10,000, take away £5,000, right? And I have remaining £5,000. If that amount, whether it be 5,000 or 10,000 or 3,000. If the amount is above the nisab threshold, right? So what is the nisab threshold? Nisab is the limit or threshold of wealth that we have to own in order for us to become liable or obliged to pay zakat. And this was established by An-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Now, I don't want to go into the details, but essentially, right, it's 87.48 grams of gold or 612.36 grams of silver. We go by the silver measurement as the most authentic and a safer opinion. We'll go by the silver measurement. So 612.36 grams of silver, you have to look at how much that is worth in monetary value, pound, at your zakat due date. So today is about 240, 43, 45 pounds. So if so that 5,000 pounds that is remaining, that is definitely above the nisab today. So today is about 245 pounds, right? And remember, it fluctuates, right? Every day you have to check out the price of gold and silver. In this case, silver. So 5,000 pounds is definitely above 240 or 44 pounds. So I pay 2.5. So I am liable to pay zakat. If my net, right, after calculation, after deducting on my liabilities, if I have nothing left over, right, is below 240 pounds or 44 pounds, right, then I am not liable to pay zakat. If it's at nisab rate or above, I have to pay zakat, right? So 2.5% of 5,000 pounds, right? 125 pounds. So 2.5%, that's my zakat. And these are the 3 easy steps that we should take in order for us to calculate zakat. Number 1, in your first column basket, add all of your assets, zakatable assets, the value of it. Number 2, in the second basket, you deduct all of the liability, you value all of your liabilities. And then whatever is remaining, if it's above the nisab at your zakat due date, then you pay 2.5% of the total assets, zakatable assets remaining, inshallah. Now, before I conclude, this is basically in a nutshell. There are some misconceptions people have. Do I have to wait 1 year until my, if I receive some money today, do I have to wait 1 year? No. That's why it's important. It's imperative that everyone has a zakat date. The same way you have a birthday and a wedding anniversary, you have to have a zakat anniversary or zakat date, right? How do you work that out? Is you go back and you see the very first date that you became owner of wealth. If you are not able to do that, you can estimate. If you're not able to do that, then this year ASAP, select a date and keep on that date. And every year you have to calculate your zakat and pay zakat on that date. Reason why? Because are we allowed to pray dhuhr during asr time? We are not, because zakat is an ibadah, it's worship. We're not allowed to pray fajr at dhuhr time. Similarly, we are not allowed to pay zakat, right, on the day that we are not liable to pay it. We have to pay zakat on the day we are liable. So if you have not got a zakat anniversary date, then choose one, go through the procedure I mentioned, or choose one, inshallah, and stick with that. And every year you pay that. That will only change. That will not change unless you become, your wealth is -0. Then the cycle starts again. Yeah. The time you wait 1 year. So say, for example, today was the very first time in my whole entire life I received a check for 2,000 pounds. Right. 2,000 pounds is above the nisab, obviously, today. Right. I don't pay zakat today. I wait. This time I wait 1 year. This time next year I go by the lunar Islamic calendar. This time next year, right? This time next year I calculate again. I do the three steps. If my net zakatable asset figure is above the nisab, then I pay 2.5% of that. And that day, every year, I have to pay my zakat on, inshallah. Yeah. There are other scenarios. A lot of people, Muslim, they may have land in their ancestral home, right? Land, land that you buy again with the intention to buy and sell, then you have to pay zakat on the entire value of the land at market rate at your zakat due date. If it's for your own personal use, grow vegetables and stuff for your family members, personally, there's no zakat on it. If you use for agricultural purposes, then there is zakat on it. It can get complicated, but inshallah, most of us don't have it, right? So we don't need to worry about it. If you do that, you can contact me separately, inshallah, and I can think. If you have cattle, livestock, also is zakatable, again, depending on what you do with it and how many you have. Again, most people will not have it, but if you do, you can contact me separately, inshallah. We can go through the calculation. Alhamdulillah, I think I'm on time, Brother Ahmed, 21 minutes. So we'll open up for Q&A now, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. So absolutely spot on time. Just while we're waiting, perhaps for one or two questions to come through on the chat. A question from myself would be, are the intricacies of zakat found in the Quran or Hadith, and if so, whereabouts?
So in terms of the details of zakat, is found in the Hadith. Yeah, the Quran mentions general principles. Quran mentions that we have to pay zakat. The Quran mentions that those people who are eligible to receive zakat, right? The Hadith mentions similar, and Hadith goes into details on how to calculate zakat. For the nisab, for example, it was set by Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yeah, those who are eligible to receive zakat, it was set by Allah and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right, and obviously the scholars throughout the centuries, they expanded, and within the principles of the Quran and Sunnah, they expanded and they highlighted how for us to calculate zakat.
Jazakallah khair. So have some questions on the chat now. So the first one is, how does a salary earning person work it out?
Okay, how does a salary person? I'm assuming that if a person is getting monthly salary, right? Then obviously whatever you have accrued at your zakat, that's why it's really, really important, brothers and sisters, right? It's really, really important that you have to have a zakat date. You will not forget your zakat anniversary date, right? Brothers, some brothers maybe, but sisters may not, right? So, and if the brothers do forget, then there'll be words from the sisters, right? But you have to have a zakat anniversary date, a date that you pay your zakat. Calculate your zakat, you pay your zakat. Otherwise, it gets messy. Yeah. So when it comes to your salary, you receive your salary every month, and your zakat, whatever you have accumulated, you add in your cash salary, right? And in the first zakat basket, the first column. Yeah. Hope that's clear, inshallah. Next one.
Yes, you can see that if you're asset rich but cash poor, should you get a loan?
If you're asset rich, cash poor, should you get a loan? No. If you're asset rich, you have to liquidate some of your assets. You should not, get a loan. You should liquidate some of your assets and pay zakat. I don't know. Next question. I don't know how much my investment is worth. I bought it a long time ago back in my country that doesn't have a proper record, so I generally don't know if I still have to them. You should try to estimate how much it is. If you can't, guesstimate, inshallah, right? Guesstimate. If you can't, just guesstimate how much is worth, and in the future, try and keep all the records in the ta'ala. So I'm Sheikh, thank you for speaking on this very important topic. I apologize, but I'm now a little confused. Is the date for calculation purpose for payment? How is it that there is a great deal of requests for zakat during Ramadan? How you have to pay? Okay, good question. Because Ramadan is a special month, people want to pay zakat and charity in the month of Ramadan. But someone may be, poor. They need zakat, our zakat, every single day of the year. So this is Ramadan. So, someone may be liable to pay zakat in the month of Muharram, or month of Shawwal, or month of Dhul Qaidah, right? It's determined by, as I explained, when you became Sahib al-Nisab, owner of the minimum threshold. Yeah. So, but a lot of people, they want to pay zakat. If you can't change it. If you this is ordained by God, right? You can't change it. If God has said, God not said, but God had made you a Sahib al-Nisab, owner of Nisab. In Muharram, you have to stick with that. And in Ramadan, you pay more. You give, right? Zakat is not much. Zakat is not much. You can pay zakat in advance. So today I paid my zakat for last year. Now I can pay zakat for the next 2 years in advance. Yeah, but every year I can estimate what I may have. But every year, next year, my zakat due, I have to calculate. If I've given less, I have to compensate. I have to make it up. Next question. So someone said to me, the correct way of paying zakat is in the same shape we are paying for for gold. You pay with gold. For silver. No. You pay zakat. You don't pay zakat just on your gold and silver. You pay zakat on all of your assets: cash, gold, business investments, stock, shares, pension, everything. You tally it up, right? And then you deduct liabilities, and then you pay your zakat, inshallah. What is the recommendation to only deduct 1 month mortgage? Why is that? These are ijtihadat. These are because you can't, if imagine, if everyone who's got a mortgage, if the Sharia says that you can deduct all of your mortgage, then people will not be paying, majority of people will not be paying the zakat for 25 to 30 years. That's illogical from a Sharia perspective, right? Illogical. That's why scholars have done ijtihad, and they said that, some scholars say 12 months, but I say, I go with the opinion that is you can deduct the 1 month payment, inshallah. And brothers, it's a matter of a few pounds. We shouldn't be very meticulous when it comes to this matter of few pounds. Given the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will bless you. We spend, hundreds of pounds on junk food and Pepsi and Coca-Cola and other things, on Netflix and on this, on that. And when it comes to zakat, few £10 here and there will not, inshallah, bankrupt us, right? Prophet said, giving sadaqah in the way of Allah will not decrease your wealth. Will not decrease your wealth. I always thought it was in cash, not in gold. No, you tally up everything: cash, gold, silver, the value of it, right? You follow the 3 easy steps I mentioned. You tally up, and then you deduct liabilities and you pay your zakat. We have to use Islamic date. Yes, you have to use Islamic date. You have to use the Islamic date. Yeah. What if you have savings account for your children under 18, like a trust, and you are saving for money in the account? Okay, good. So like a trust fund for your children, right? Now, you don't need to pay zakat on that. According to the scholar, you don't need to pay zakat on that because, right? But some scholars say that it's better for you to pay it, right? But you don't need to. You don't need to pay on it. The Hanafi madhab, you don't need to pay on it, inshallah. What is the punishment for not paying zakat? There's so many different hadith. One particular hadith in Bukhari and believe Muslim also. Prophet said, those who do not pay zakat, a serpent on the day of a serpent will come and encircle and hold the person and squeeze the life out of that person, right? So not paying zakat is a sin. Not paying zakat is a kabira, right? It's a major sin. Not paying zakat is haram. Not paying zakat, right? You will not be, in God's favor if you don't pay zakat. It's a major sin, right? Real estate bought for rental purpose, zakat is paid on the rental income. What about the gain once the property is sold? Is zakat due? Yes. If you bought a property with the intention of long-term investment, obviously, as I mentioned, you pay zakat on the rental income that has been accumulated at your zakat date. Now, if you sold that property, then you pay zakat. Obviously, at your zakat date, whatever money that's remained after you sold it, you calculate that in your zakat asset basket. If you have an offset mortgage, do you need to take into account the saving in the offset account part of your zakat? Yes, any saving in that sense, you have to add in your in the zakat calculation basket. If you are if you are part owner of a small business, how to calculate value of business? So you take what the percentage that you own, right? The percentage that you own, and you calculate zakat on that. So if you own 30%, or 20% or 10%, you pay zakat on that. If the business has a debt on it, then how is that accounted for? If the business has a debt, right, then obviously, as I explained, depending how that debt is paid and whatnot, you can deduct that. So I'm sure if I pay my zakat, will I be in a if I pay my zakat, I will be in a big problem financially. No, you have to pay zakat now, right? And when you calculate if you're zakat liable, it won't be too much, inshallah. and it's an obligation that you have to pay now, right? If you think that you will be in a difficult situation, you may not be a person who is liable to pay zakat. Yeah. So if you want to call me after, we can go through it, or no, after tomorrow, inshallah, we can go through it. But you cannot delay paying zakat. You cannot delay calculating zakat, and you cannot delay paying zakat, because zakat is the right of the poor. Zakat is the right of God and the right of the poor. When it comes to salah, right, is the right of Allah, right? It's a connection between myself and Allah, right? When it comes to zakat, it's the right of God as well as the right of the poor. The money that I have, the 2.5%, right, doesn't belong to me. I don't have the right to hold it. It belongs to the poor. It's like me going to the supermarket and stealing. So if I don't pay zakat, it is like me stealing from the poor and the needy. It is like me stealing from the poor and the needy. Can you explain the zakat position in terms of investment in funds, intention, as long as? So if you bought shares, if you bought the intention long-term investment, then you pay zakat on the dividend you receive, and you pay zakat on the underlying zakatable assets of the company, your investment. Yeah. Can you speak about who can give zakat? Who can give zakat? Is it true we should? Okay. Ideally, you should give it to our families. Okay, I should. So many aspects. There are certain people within our families we cannot give zakat to. We can't give zakat to the family of the Prophet ﷺ, generally, right? The Ahlul Bayt, we can't give zakat to. We cannot give zakat. I can't give my zakat to my father, my grandfather, anyone upwards. I can't give my zakat to my children and grandchildren, anyone downwards. Yeah, there's different opinion among the scholars in terms of, can a husband give zakat to the wife? Generally, no, because the husband should always support the wife anyway, right? So that's why you shouldn't give zakat to your. You can't give zakat to your wife. Some scholars say if he's a rich wife and a poor husband, then she can give zakat to the poor husband. Yeah. So anyone else in the family, right? If they're poor, if they're zakat eligible, then I can give my zakat to them.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. There's a question from YouTube. Is it permissible to take a broad brush approach to calculation and pay a monthly figure which you think is more than what would be due?
Ideally, you should try and be accurate when it comes to zakat calculation, right? So the same way you calculate your tax, you should calculate your zakat meticulously to the best of your ability, like that. If you think that you want to pay more, it's best to calculate, and if you want to give extra, it's always better to give extra. My advice is that always, so if after calculating my zakat comes to £200, for example, right? Give £300. Always give extra. It's always best to give extra. How was the threshold amount decided? It was decided by the Prophet ﷺ. The value of gold, yeah, the 20 misqal of gold, and 612.36 grams of silver. 612.36 grams of silver is today about 244 pounds, so it fluctuates. It's in the hadith.
There's another question from YouTube. Can you spread the zakat amount over the last 10 days of Ramadan and spread between different charities?
You can do that, but as I said, if your zakat day is the first of Ramadan, you have to pay zakat on the first of Ramadan. For next year, you can spread it out. As I said, you can pay 2 years in advance.
Exactly. Another one from myself, Sheikh. On the subject of shares and cryptocurrency, could you just clarify, do you pay zakat on the profits or on the capital investment as well?
Depends on the intention, as I said. If you put with the intention of to make a profit, you pay zakat on the entire value of your shares at market rate. Yeah. What was the other question in terms of?
No, it's the same question, just applied to shares and cryptocurrency. So the same thing.
Yeah, cryptocurrency. Yes, you have to pay. Cryptocurrency is another currency, right? You have to pay zakat on it. Right? You look at the value in pounds and you add it in your zakat basket. Yeah. There are different kind of cryptocurrencies, right? There are different which will take different rulings. But what I would say is that, you know, anyone has those kind of detail wants to have a detailed answer, inshallah, contact me tomorrow or another day, inshallah. I can go through it. But that's the general rule.
There's another question on the chat there. Passive funds dividends are not transparent. It isn't possible to work out what this is. What do you do in this case? And you also mentioned that you calculate it on the assets of the underlying companies. How do you do this in practice when the investments are based on an underlying index of thousands of companies?
Yeah, so what some have said is that if you don't know how to do that, you can go by like a 20% proxy. Yeah, 20% proxy. And these are obviously ijtihadat of people, of scholars, which are fine to do, inshallah.
Shaykh, is Hakhmer zakatable?
Good question. So if a wife obviously, you know, has not received the zakat, there's no zakat on it. Yeah, right. Obviously, if she receives the zakat, whether that be zakat, sorry, the mahar, whether that be in gold, whatever, right? Then she has to pay zakat on it.
We'll just wait for another minute or so, Shaykh, just to allow any more questions. But Jazakallah khair so far for answering all those quite detailed questions, I thought, quite patiently. You're clearly an expert, mashallah. So there's one more question on the chat here. Oh, actually, no, it was just a commendation. So that's nice.
What about jewelry, not gold? Very good question. What about jewelry that is not made of gold and silver? It's like precious stones. Yeah, precious stones are not zakatable. Yeah, so if you have diamonds, rubies, they're not zakatable. So if they've been gifted to you for wedding gift or whatever, you wear it or don't wear it, right? Then they're not zakatable. Obviously, if you sell those later, then any money that's remaining at your zakat due date after the sale, you have to pay zakat on it. But generally, jewelry apart from gold and silver, jewelry, they're not zakatable. Unless you bought those precious stones for business purposes, then obviously it's zakatable. It's always good. I mean, is my sick dad's brother eligible, right? Yeah, you can pay. Yeah, you should try and give it to your family members first. Yeah.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. I think you've answered all the questions there. But they keep coming through. So there's one last one. So for many years, I think I've been calculating wrongly. How can I make up for this?
Oh, thank you very much for that question. I should forgive me. I should mention it. The other aspect that I forgot to mention is about missed zakat. Yeah. So according to a number of scholars, right? For example, if I don't fast for whatever reason, I have to make qada of the fast after. So if I'm sick today, I'm not able to fast. I have to make qada after Ramadan. Yeah, I have to make qada, right? If I have not prayed, right? According to the majority of scholars, I should try and make qada. Some scholars say this, repent. When it comes to zakat, if I missed the year, you have to make it up. So you have to go back and see how many years and go back to your bank accounts and income how much I had, and I have to calculate the zakat that I have missed. It can be very complicated. Inshallah, you can call me. I can help. But we cannot go a day without paying off our. This is a debt, by the way. Remember, zakat is a debt that we owe to God and the poor and the needy. If we die without paying off our debt, then we'll be in serious trouble. So any years that I missed paying zakat, I have to go back and see how much it is and pay zakat on that. Inshallah.
Jazakallah khair. Another question says, sorry if you've addressed this already, but to clarify, do you have to pay zakat on land you have bought but do not intend to sell within a year of purchase?
If you bought the land, as I said, for business purposes, so you want to sell. So I bought some land today, and next year I want to sell, or 2 years time. Right? If my intention was very, very clear that I want to sell because I want to make a profit, I want to sell 1 year after, 2 years after, 3 years after, then every year I have to pay zakah. That's why when you buy something, when it comes to these things, you have to clear your intention. What's the intent? What's your intention? Yeah. So when it comes to, if I have that intention, I have to pay zakah every year on the market value of that land at my zakah days.
Jazakallah khair. There's 2 more questions, and I think we'll probably have to wrap.
Qaza, okay. Qada is when, so as I said, if I have not, for whatever reason, fasted today, I have to do qada of the fast. Compensate, make that fast up. Yeah. Excuse me. Kafara is, for example, if I have if I did not fast, and if I broke the fast for a certain reason, then I have to sometimes make up the fast and also pay kafara, right? For example, if someone is chronically ill, right? Someone is chronically ill, cannot fast at all, then they pay fidya, expiation, a kafara, expiation. So every day they miss the fast, they feed a poor person for every day they miss the fast.
And I think it's a nice question to wrap up on, actually. Can you advise on a comprehensive resource we can look into online? What are the most reliable websites?
There are so many websites. What I would recommend is books, right? What I would recommend is books. There's Fiqh al-Zakah, a massive book you can read. The smaller versions of that, the smaller different booklets. I would recommend that you buy those books, inshallah, and read.
Jazakallah Shaykh. I think we're pretty much out of time now. So if you could perhaps wrap up with a short dua, and we'll bring the meeting to a close, inshallah.
Thank you, everyone. Alhamdulillah, was very good. The questions are very, very lively, very good. So if you need any assistance in calculating your zakah, please contact me separately, inshallah. The brothers, Brother Ahmed and Ahmed Amir will give you my number and contact details, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless everyone. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our fast, our zakah, our charity, our good deeds, and our qiyam and our siyam, inshallah. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار سبحانك ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Until next time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam, Shaykh. Jazakallah khair. Thank you for your detailed explanations on all the intricacies of zakat. Inshallah, we'll be seeing you again soon. Inshallah. So that concludes this evening's Speaker's Corner talk. For those of you who are keen to stay on for Shaykh Mudaffar's Quran recitation, stay on the line. But in the meantime, do make a note of the donation